Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is the next video in the additional skill RPA developer series where we are trying to explore the database. Now, as an RPA developer, it is important for us to know what exactly are the databases, why it is important, what are the various table operations. In the previous videos of this series, we have seen what exactly is an SSMS, how do we install the database. We have seen what are the basics of databases and we have created one database. This video is in continuation to that video where today we are going to explore the common table operations. In case you haven't already watched the previous two videos, the link of both the videos is available in the description. In case you are coming to the channel for the first time and you haven't already subscribed, please consider subscribing to the channel to get the latest videos. Now, let's get to the agenda for this video. What exactly are we going to cover today? We are going to start with the basics, that what exactly is a table. When I am creating a table, what are the data types, which are the most commonly used data types? Once we are done with, we are going to create a table in the SSMS. Then I am going to introduce you to something which is called a select query. Post that, we will look into how exactly can we insert the data into the table and what are the different variances of the insert query. And at the end, we will introduce to something which is called the where clause and how exactly can I use it in different set of queries. So this is the complete agenda for today. So let's get started with the first topic, which is what exactly is a table. So table are the database object that contains the data in a database. We are looking into the relational database, as we have seen in the previous videos, that a relational database is something where the data is stored in the form of table. When I say a table, I simply mean a data which is stored in the form of rows and the columns. You can actually imagine the data in a table as you see in a spreadsheet or in an Excel file. In an Excel file, the same way we have rows and column. The same way in a database table, we also have rows and the column. If you are looking on the screen, this is a snapshot of a table from a database where the information is stored in a database. Now, what exactly does a table look like and what are the different things which we should be aware of? The first thing, the employee ID, the employee name, the department and the location. These things are referred to as a fields in a table. So whenever I create a table, the first thing I should tell the SSMS or the database is that what are the fields my table is going to have. So if you talk about this table, I have employee ID, employee name, department and the location. Next, all the data in the table is known as a record, or it's also known as the rows. So all these, the first row, second row, third row, fourth row. So the data is stored in a form of rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like that. These are all referred to as the record or sometimes also known as the rows. Similarly to the row, we have something which is called column, right? So if you are noticing now, this arrow is actually representing to a employee name column, which consists of all the name of the employees. So a table basically has rows and columns. The top thing is known as the field, which is nothing, same like you can treat it as an header of an Excel. Then the information is stored in the form of rows, and then we have something which is called the columns. So I hope you understand what exactly is the field, record and columns. Now that we have understood what exactly is a table, let's proceed to the common data types. Now what exactly are the data types? For example, if I go back to my previous table, you would notice that the employee ID is nothing but a form of an integer. The employee name is in a string. The department is also a string. The location is also a string. So whenever we are creating any table, we need to define fields. We understood that employee ID is a field, employee name is a field, department is a field, and location is a field. But we have to also tell the database that what kind of data I am going to store in these particular columns. So there you have to know the common data types which are available. So this slide I have put some of the most common data types which are being used. There are more data types which are available, but this slide I want to just talk about the common ones. Just take an example. We have the int, small int, decimal and numeric, and then we have the range. So for example, this employee ID is a number and I want to store it in a form of integer. I am sure that my employee number is only between this range 32,767 and minus this range. So for me, a better data type would be a small int. In case I feel that I can have more number of those employees and my range can increase, then in that case I'll shift to the integer. So this is how, depending on your requirement, we can select the correct data type. It's not only restricted to the integer. We have for date time, small date time, we have date, we have time. In case I only want to store time in a database, so I can have the column data type as time. Similarly, we have character, varchar max, and the text. The range and the maximum character, everything is available here. This is the most common type of list which we'll use, but there are more other kind of the data types which are available. You can always explore the internet and get the more common data types. But the thing to remember here is that the data type is responsible for what data you are going to put in each of the field. In case the data is exceeding the range, you will get an error. So two things which we need to have before I create a table is that which all fields we want to create, definitely what is the name of the table, and what kind of data I am expecting in that field. So that is called the data types. Now that we have understood what exactly is a table, what are the common data types, now let us see how I can create a table. So let's try to create a table which we are seeing from the first slide. In the SQL world, we have a command, or I would say we have a statement which is called the create table statement. The create table statement is used to create a new table in the database, right? So if I have to create this table, whatever we are looking on the screen, we can use the create table command. The syntax for the create table command is absolutely simple. We have to tell create table, this is the syntax, right? Table name, create table, what should be the table name? So table name you should define as per your data. If you are looking on this one, this seems to be a employee data, so my table name will be employee data or employee database, anything, right? So create table, table name. Then we have to define that what is the column. So column 1 is nothing but employee ID, and the data type. This data type is nothing but the same which we have been discussing earlier. So for us it can be an integer, big int, depending on our requirement. We put a comma and then we keep going, add the column like this, column 1, column 2, column 3, and till the point we have got all the columns. So for me, I have got 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So I will have 4 columns, name here, the data types, and then we have something which is called primary key. Now what exactly is a primary key? Primary key is used to uniquely define the row. Whenever, let's say I am talking about an employee database, right? Employee ID is something which is unique, and in a company I cannot have two employees with the same employee ID, right? So for me, the primary key is my employee ID. How do we define that? We simply use the keywords primary key and we put the column name here. Now this column name is nothing but coming from this list only. I hope you understand what exactly is the syntax. Now if I have to create this table in the SQL, this is the command which I am going to use, right? Create table employee, then the name of the first column, which is employee ID, it is going to be an integer, so that is nothing but the data type. Second, for the employee name, that is a varchar. Department is also going to be a varchar. Location is again a varchar. And then at the end, I know that yes, my data cannot have the duplicate employee ID. So specifying primary key and employee ID. So that is it. It is as simple as that to create a table in the SQL. Let's now jump to the SQL and see how exactly this thing behaves. I am in my SQL server. I just go here and connect. In case you haven't already installed the SQL, I have the link to the video available in the description. You can just refer, right? In the previous video, if you guys remember, we have created this database, which is nothing but the UiPath database. If I expand the tables in the UiPath database, I do not have any tables because in the previous video, we just created the database. Now, this time I want to create a table. So what do? I simply go here and I click on this guy which says new query, right? Now new query will give us a wizard where I can actually go and write the query that what we want to do in the SQL today. For us, we want to create the new query. If you see here, I am already in the UiPath database correctly selected. In case if it is not correctly selected for you, you can always use it from the drop down, or you can use the use command which we have explored in the previous videos, right? So now to create a table, I have copied the same thing and I have pasted it here, right? Create table, the name of the table I want to create is employee. These are all the fields: employee ID, employee name, department, and the location. This is their data type. And at the end, I'm specifying that the primary key should be employee ID. So you can just copy and paste it here and it should work. Now to execute it, I simply go here and click on this guy which says execute. Command completed successfully. It is telling me that Mukesh, your table is now created. How can I validate? I can quickly go to the database here and click on this guy which says refresh. And you would see in the UiPath database, under the tables, I have something which is called dbo.employee, and that is nothing but a table. So this is one way of creating the table in the SQL server. What other way I can create a table? You can always go to the table and you can select new and say table. This will give you an user interface where you can just simply provide the properties and it will create a table for you. So for example, what is the column name? The column name for me is, let's say, name. And the data type, I want to just, let's say, text. Let's try to add one more column, let's say age. And age, I believe, is an integer. So I can go here and I say that it's a small int, right? Do I want to allow the nulls? No, yes, you can decide it from here. Once we are done, I simply have to go here and click on this guy which says save the table. Now it is going to ask me what is the table name. So let's say I call it as temp table and I hit OK. This table is created. I can quickly go here, hit a quick refresh, and you would notice my temp table is also created, right? So two ways of creating the table, guys. One is to use the query. The other is use the UI wizard. You can simply right click and create the table, right? So once I create the table, it's absolutely blank, right? There is nothing in the table. We have not inserted any data in the table. It's just a structure I have created. That means we have defined the structure of the table and there is nothing inside the table. In the next few minutes, we would be inserting data into this table and fill up with the records. Okay, let us go back to the presentation now. So with the help of this query, I was able to create this table structure in the UiPath. The next step is to populate the data. But before populating the data, I want to introduce you to something which is called a select query, right? Same like I have used the create table statement to create the new table, we have something called a select statement which is used to select the data from the database, which means that it is going to return me the result of the query whatever I write. So if you are looking on the screen, this has a simple syntax. It simply says select star from the table name. Star means select everything from the table name. So as of now, if you remember, I have just created a table and that table is completely blank. If I want to see what all there is in table, I can simply use select star from the table name and it should give me everything whatever there is in a table. But let's say on one fine day, I only want to see the employee ID. I do not want to see the complete table, right? For me, it's only 5 columns, but you can have a database or a data table where you have a lot of columns. I only am interested in the first 3 columns. So you can also put it like this: select first column, second column, from and table name, right? So these are nothing but these columns name. Let me quickly go to the SSMS and show you how exactly does it look. So here I have already created the table. So if I simply go here and let me just quickly minimize this here, and if I just write here select star from, what is my table name? Employee. To execute this, I can simply select this here and click on this button which says execute. If you see the output, we are getting the same table which we created, right? So let me just pull it up a little bit here. Employee ID, employee name, department and the location. Since we do not have any data, my table is blank. But we have just seen that we can actually put the columns also. So let's say if I only interested in the employee ID and I am only interested in the employee name, right? So I can put it like this as well. I go here and I say execute. So now if I have a huge table, I'll only get the 2 IDs. Select employee ID, employee name from the employees, and that would give me this thing, right? So 2 things which we have covered till this point. One is creating of the table and the other is the select statement. Why I have introduced the select statement at the beginning? Because once we insert the data, we should be knowing, right, whether the data is inserted properly or not, so that we wanted to see. So I wanted to show you guys with the help of the queries, right? That is why we have introduced to the select statement. Okay, back to the presentation. I hope now you understand what exactly is a select query. There are 2 variants. You can directly put a star or you can simply put the column's name. Okay, so that was about the select query. Let us try to see how I can insert the data into the table. As of now, we have just created the table, which means that we have only got this structure. We do not have this data available. So now how can I insert the data into the table? So for that, we have a statement which is available, which is called the insert table statement, which is used to insert the data into the table. If you see here, this is the syntax for the insert. We have to write insert into. These are the keywords which I am going to use. Same like in the create table, I have used create table. To insert, I am going to use insert into. And then it is going to ask me which is the table you want to insert. So let's say for me the table name is employee. I'll say insert into employees. Then we have an option. Do I want to fill all the columns, or I want to fill only the specific columns? So for all the columns I specify, I write values and I then give the values. It's absolutely simple. So let's say if I want to fill this first record, or I want to, let's say, fill any of the record for that matter, how I will write the insert statement. The query would be simple. Insert into, what is my table name? The table name is employee. Next, it is going to ask me which all fields you want to populate. I want to populate employee ID, employee name, department, and the location. I have specified this thing, and this should match the table fields here. Once we have got all of this, then I need to specify values, and we simply put what all values we want to insert in the table, right? So that is how the syntax work. Let's take this syntax to the SSMS and see how does it behave. I am back into my SQL Server Management Studio. I'll just remove this create table command from here. And if I just simply go here and I write select star. So if I just go and execute this, my table is blank. Just after this, I'll paste this query, which means that I am instructing the database to insert into the employee, which is nothing but the name of the table. We have these fields: employee ID, employee name, department, and location. And these are the values, right? The employee ID is 1234, the employee name is Alvin, the department is IT, and the location is Mumbai. If I just go and execute this statement, how do? I simply can go here and click on this execute button, or you can press the F5 also. That is the shortcut key. I go here and execute. It says one row affected, which means that there has been one row which has got inserted, or it has got some manipulation, right? So I'll go here and again go and select star from the employees. Now if you see here, the same data is now available here. Employee ID is available, employee name is available, department is available, and the location is also available. So that is how you can insert a data into a table. Now let's say I want to insert one more record. I just go here and update this value. I'll go here and I say something like this. I'll put Mukesh, and here let me just update it to some other state, let's say Chennai, and I go here and I again go and execute. Now if I again go and check my table, select star from employee, you would notice that now I have got two employees in my table. One is Alvin and other is Mukesh. Now if you remember, when I was creating this table, I have specified something called a primary key. I have specified that my employee ID is a primary key. So what happens if I try to insert a new employee, let's say Neha, and I say that she is from HR and her location is also Chennai, but the employee ID is same as the second record. Now what happens? If I simply go here and try to insert this record, I am getting an error which says that there is a violation of the primary key constraint. It says that cannot insert duplicate key in the object because you have told the database that yes, this is my primary key, and since I already have 2, 3, 4, 5 record with the primary key, it is not allowing me to insert. If I have to insert it, I would simply need to go and change this employee ID to something new. So I go here and I say execute. And now if I just go and execute this one, you would notice that I have got the 3 set of employees. So this is one way of inserting the data into an existing table. Now this insert query has different variants, right? There are different ways where you can insert the data into a table. Next, I'm going to explain you guys what are the different kind of variants which we can have in this insert query. Okay, let me go back to my presentation again. Now these are some of the insert query variances which are available. Now just now I have taught you guys that whenever we are inserting, we have to specify the column name. In case I am trying to insert all the data at one shot, which means that I have the data for all the columns like this, insert into employee 1, 2, 3, 4, Mukesh, IT and Mumbai. I do not need to specify the column name, which means that we can always insert without the column name in case we have the value for all the fields, right? So that is the first option, which says insert without the column name. I am back into my SSMS. I'll just go here and try to insert the same query now. Insert into employees. But if you see here, this time I do not have provided the column name. Now if I have to insert this value here, I can see 1 2 3 4 is already available. So I just change this ID to something else. I'll change the name to Rakesh maybe, and here I would say Pune. Okay. Now here I am inserting into the table and I have all the 4 values. So this time I do not necessarily require the column's name. So I can simply go here and I say execute. Okay, it says that you have some syntax error. Yes, because of this thing, right? So this is how you put the string in the, it should come in the single quotation mark, right? When I copied it from the PPT, it changed the format, right? So varchar or the kind of string are put in a single quotes, right? So insert into employee, and now this time I am trying to insert all the values, right? So I'll again go here and I say execute. One row affected, which means that this row is inserted here, but the difference, if you notice here, I do not provided the column names. Let's try to quickly validate. Yes, the Rakesh record is also available in my table now. But what happens if I just, let's say I want to insert a new record and I say that I want to do it for Himan, and this time I just remove one of the field. So my actual table is having 1 2 3 4 records, but I am trying to insert into the column without the headers and not giving all the values. Now if I go here and I simply say execute, I will get an error. It says that the column name or the number supplied does not match. It is simply saying you are not telling me which all columns I need to populate, and the count of the column is also less. You have 1 2 3 4 and you are only giving me 1 2 3 values, right? So you can use it without the columns only when you provide all the values to the table, right? So that was the first variant of the insert statement, which was without using the column name. The next one is that what happens if you want to insert multiple records, right? So for example, I want to store multiple records. I have 10, 20, 15, 20 records and it are available with me, and now I want to insert all of them. Do I have to write this insert into every time? The answer is no. We can simply put a comma and we can add the more records. How we can do that? Let me quickly show it to you. I am back into my database. So this is one of the record. This is one entity, right? Let's say I want to insert 2 more records in the same table, right? So let me go here and say execute. If you see here, I have 4 records as of now. Let's say I want to introduce 2 more records. Now this completely depends whether you want to give it or not. I am giving all the values, so I can keep it. It's not matter, right? In case I want to insert multiple records, all you have to do is just put a comma and just repeat the same thing. I'll Control C and Control V, hit a comma and then Control V. Now this is the place where you are going to give the details, right? So let me just quickly change the IDs to something different so that we don't get the null reference exception. I'll change the name to something like this. Let's say Hulk, then I have Superman, and then I have Leon. HR, let's call it IT, let's call it Mumbai, and this one I'll call as Delhi. Okay, so now to insert it all the record as once, we simply go here and I say execute. Now it is again giving me a violation error. Let's quickly validate what exactly it is. Okay, 2 3 4 5 is already available, right? So let me change it to 43, 45, right? Let's try to insert all these records now. I'll go here and I say execute. It says 3 rows affected, which means that now 3 rows are inserted into the table. How I can validate? I can simply go here and I say select star from employee and execute. So total I have 7 records now, which 4 are the existing one and these 3 are the new ones now, right? So these 3 are available and total count is now 7. So this is how you can actually insert multiple record at once, right? One more thing which I want to introduce here is that, let's say I want to introduce a new record and which is something like this, okay? And I do not have the location here, okay? So you can do it like this as well. You can have a lesser number of records, right? So let's say this is some newbie, right? For the newbie, I do not have the location as of now, but if I do it without the headers, it will give me an error. But with the headers, if I just match it to the exactly 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, it will work. And in the location column, it will actually go and put null. So I'll go here and I say execute. 1 row affected. Let me go and execute it here. And you would notice that now my complete thing is executed here. Newbie, HR, and this column is null. So that is how you can actually go and insert the record into the tables. There is one other way of populating a table, which means that I have got one old table and I have got a new table, sorry. Now I want to just copy the data from one table to the other table. That also is possible, right? So you simply have to use this statement, insert into the table name, which all columns you want to insert, right? Let's say employee ID, employee name and department. Then you have to write this statement which says select column 1, column 2, column 3 from the second table. So from this second table, these 3 column values will be populated in the first table. So this is an assignment which I want to give to you guys and I want you to practice this. You have already created this employee table. Create one more table which is, let's say, a temp table or employee second or any other table for that matter, and just try to use this statement where you are populating the data from one table to another table with the help of a simple insert statement. So these are the 3 insert variances which you can actually use when we are inserting the data into the SQL table. Okay. Moving forward now, I hope now you understand how we can insert a data. My table is now populated. These all data I have not put, so you can always refer this slide and you can try to put these data into your table. So now, once we have populated the table, we are using the select query actually to query and get the records. There is a specific clause which is known as a where clause. This where clause actually allow us to provide an condition that what data you want to actually see. So the SQL where clause is used to specify a condition while fetching the data from a table. If the condition is satisfied, it will give us the rows. If the condition is not satisfied, we will not get anything. Not only in the select, the where can be used to update, to delete and to do other tasks as well, right? So where actually is a simple clause which you can specify while writing the query, which is used to update, insert, delete and do some other stuffs. To apply the where clause in the condition, let me quickly go back to the SSMS first. And here, let me just remove this insert statement first. If I simply do a select star from employee, it is giving me all the employee IDs. But let's say I only want to see the people who are from the Mumbai location. How I can do that? So here I am going to introduce the where clause. So I am telling SQL select everything from the employee table and I am writing where location is equal to Mumbai. If I simply go and execute this, you would notice that total I have 8 records as of now. I execute. I am only getting 2 employees who are from the Mumbai location. Now let's say today I want to check who are the employees whose department is IT. So I can simply go here and I write department is equal to IT. Right? I just go here and execute, and I can see that there are 4 employees whose department is IT. Now let's say I just change it to something else. Let's say finance, right? I do not have anyone from finance. What happens if I put a wrong condition? If I go here and I execute, I am getting 0 records because there is no employee whose department is finance, right? See, it's only IT or HR. So that is how we can use the where statement. Now, the where statement also has some different variances, which means that I want to select only the people who are from IT, but I do not want all the data. I just only am interested in the employee name. So I'll remove this star and I just write here employee name. Go here and execute. So I am only getting the employee name. Let's say after the employee name, I am also interested in the employee ID. So I go here and I write employee ID. Now it will give me the employee name as well as the employee ID. If I again want everything, I can simply replace this with a star. And now it will give me everything. Again, I want to get everything from the table. I just go here and I say execute. It's absolutely simple, right? Select everything from the employee where department is equal to IT. I am back into my presentation. You would notice here, this is the syntax for the where clause. Select column 1, column 2 from the table name, and then we have to specify the where condition. Now it is not only restricted to equal to. You can use all these operators in the where clause. Let's say select star from employee where location is not Mumbai. So I will use this symbol. Where location is like MUM. So that will give you a pattern. If I have multiple values, I want to see which are in Mumbai as well as in Pune. So I'll say in and I say Mumbai, Pune. Let's say we also have the salary or the employee number here, right? So I simply want to check where the salary is greater than $5,000. So I simply go here, select star from employee where location is Mumbai and salary greater than $5,000. You can actually use the logical operators also with the where clause, such as this one. Get all the employee details where location is Mumbai and the department is IT. You can also use the or condition, and instead of this equal to, you can use the greater than, less than, between, like, and all this option. So depending on your requirement, you can actually go and customize the queries. Let's try to execute and see how does it behave. Okay. I'll go back to my SSMS. This is my complete table. Now let's say if you see, these are all the employee IDs, right? I want to get all the employees where the department is IT and the employee ID is greater than, let's say 8,000 or let's say 6,000, right? So if you see here, these are all the employees ID and 63, 83, 84 and 73, right? So I want to get all the employees who are in department IT and employee ID is greater than 6,000. So that also is possible with this. I go here and I say execute. And now I am getting only one employee whose department is ID and employee is greater than this. But if you see here, we have more employees, right, which are greater than this. But the condition which I specified was that department is equal to IT. If I want to get the HR department, I can say here HR. And now it will give me only the HR. I want to get both HR and IT. I simply go here and I say in and I say in HR, comma IT, like this. Go here and execute. Now I am getting all the employees who are from the department in HR and IT, and the ID is greater than 65. So that is how actually you can go and customize this query. Now I want you guys to comment me what would be the statement to get only the employee ID and the employee name, okay, where the employee ID is less than 4000 and location for the employee is Chennai. Okay. So this is the query which I want you guys to write me on the comments, that I want to get only the employee ID and the employee name where the employee ID is less than 4000 and location is Chennai. Just make sure I do not want to get all the data, so I am not going to use the star. So please write this query and let me know in the comments that what exactly would be the query for this statement. Okay. You have to get me the employee ID, employee name from this table. Employee ID should be less than 4000 and location should be Chennai. Okay. So I'll wait for your comment and let's proceed now. So this is what we have seen. We can use the equal to operator, we can use the in operator, we can use the and, we can use the or, and depending on this, you can actually go and customize your select statement. So this was the last topic which I wanted to cover today, that how you can use a where clause. Let us quickly summarize what we have seen today. We have seen that we have something which is called tables, which is storing the data in the form of rows and columns, same as we do in a spreadsheet. We have different type of databases, or I would say we have different kind of data types which are available, and we have to define the proper column in the proper data type format. Then I have something which is called a select query, where we can actually use the where statement and I can get the records. We have insert into table statement that is used to insert data into the tables. We have different variants of the insert query which you can explore. And lastly, we have seen that how exactly can I use the where clause to specify how I want to retrieve the data, and we have seen a couple of examples for that. Right. So that is all for this video. I would like to wrap this video here. If you have any more questions, you can always drop me a note on my email ID, or you can simply use the comment box also. Next video, I am going to explain more about the queries, which means that how I can do the more of the CRUD operation, which means create, retrieve, update and delete. That will be available in the next upcoming videos of the series. So that is all for this one. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please do subscribe to the channel, and happy automation.